Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So you might be wondering who is this guy new to this podcast. So I'm usually the guy who sits behind the camera. But if you're like me and watched all the podcast, there are a few jargons and few scientific terms which you might not understand, at least for the regular people. So here I'm here to ask questions on that. So who else to answer better than the CEO and the founder of the BugSpeaks and the common person for all the podcasts we have? Welcome, Kumar.
Thank you, Abhishek, for inviting me to this podcast. And thank you for so graciously agreeing to host this.
Thank you. And how are you doing today?
Slightly nervous, but I don't know what kind of questions are going to come up. But
Yeah, it's just few questions, but
I just kept seeing lots of printouts being taken, so I got a little nervous. But otherwise, all good.
great. So first question is the easiest one. Do you follow your gut?
In terms of the decision that we're taking, yes, I try to listen to all the gut feels that I get. I also listen to gut sensations, and based on that, eat French fries every now and then.
So, okay, you do cheat on your gut sometimes.
All the time.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions regarding microbiome and a lot of bacteria we had. The discussions we had on the podcast is related to bacteria and stuff. So the questions will be related to that, but if you can keep it simple so that normal people can understand, not using a lot of scientific terms, that would be really helpful for us.
I'll try my best.
Okay, cool. So the first question is, so what inspired you personally and professionally to go ahead with this particular field? Because I know a little bit that you studied also in the same background, but have a niche specific product like this with all the medical products out there. So what made you choose this particular profession?
Interesting you should ask that, because initially I thought microbiome was pseudoscience, and it was all mumbo jumbo, and there's nothing such as microorganisms inside your body, and I think there's a common belief that urine is sterile, and all of that, right? I mean, but I mean there are microbes everywhere, and that's the understanding that we had right now. So I've been working in drug discovery most of my career. So I've been trying to discover new medicine for a disease, and wanted to do something on the preventive side. So is there a technology out there that we can use to catch the disease very early or to prevent it completely? And that's when I stumbled upon the microbiome. And so initially it was like a fun experiment that a friend and I wanted to do. We wanted to actually look at the microorganisms in the plastic bottles that we drink from. So all of us get packaged drinking water, right? The plastic water. We don't throw it after 1 year. Some of us keep it for 6 months, reusing. So we wanted to see how the bacterial load changes once you keep it for a long time. We could never do the experiment because it was too difficult at that point of time to do it. But that's when the curiosity of the microorganism started coming, and I started reading a lot more about the microbiome, and that's how eventually started the company to see if we could do something around the microbiome in the preventive healthcare space.
Preventive health. Okay. You mentioned that you wanted to create a solution for a particular problem, right? Like in health, that's where you started it, and
In preventive health.
in preventive health. So you wanted to create a product which solves, isn't it?
Yes, if we can catch it early and rectify it.
Okay. So, and you mentioned there is a example, or the thing which motivated you was the plastic bottle and the microbiomes or the bacteria inside of it to test on it, right? So is this something related where we had a rumor? I don't know if it's called rumor or a box that if you drink plastic from plastic bottle, that it might lead to the cancer. Is that a big question early of the podcast?
Okay, but I don't know if it's a big question earlier in the podcast, but there are. I mean, right now you can see a lot of studies showing that microplastics are entering our body in a big way. It could be coming from PET bottles. It could be coming from delivery, food delivery, which we are just directly putting into the microwave and microwaving for some time. So much as they have found microplastics in the brain. Okay. Now, whether there's a direct correlation between that and cancer is still debatable, but it is definitely causing problems in the body. So we have to be very mindful about microplastics. So one of the things that we're doing in the new version of our BugSpeaks report is reporting on microplastics.
I'll come back to this little more bigger questions on this, but we do have a lot of misconceptions about gut health. What is the common mistakes people do? Because we have so many probiotics initially we had. I don't know if you can mention the product name called Yakult. Uh,
You can, I can't.
so that's where our knowledge of probiotics started. And then apart from that, curd and yogurt, something like that. So is there a common misconception or are we on the right track?
I mean, there is no misconception per se, but there is a lot of knowledge that still needs to be attained. And what I mean is, for you and I itself, we'll have to understand what probiotics are, what gut health actually means, what is gut. There is small intestine, large intestine, all of that. So that itself, there is for a lot of people, everything is one organ. Okay, but there's so much of differentiation over that. Probiotics are not new to India. I mean, the pharma companies have been prescribed, manufacturing and clinically selling probiotics for a really long time. Companies like Yakult made it a little more consumer friendly and made it. There was a lot more awareness in the consumer and probiotics in the consumer. But not one size does not fit all. There is a very nuanced take as to what is right for you versus what is right for me.
Okay. So you're saying it's individual person has a different kind of bacteria inside their gut. So it cannot be common product.
Correct. That's one way of putting it. And it is also about your health at this point of time. So all of that, considering all of that, you'll have to take the right decision. And that's the kind of knowledge that we're trying to impart, either through these podcasts or, when one of our products are bought, we're trying to give that knowledge back to the consumer.
That comes to my next question because you mentioned that it might be not just individual person, but at certain point of time, what is kind of bacteria is in your gut too.
Correct.
So what was your challenges creating this particular product for you scientifically if you're when you started developing this?
The first thing that you need to understand is all the world's knowledge combined, we probably understand less than 10% of the gut microbiome. Okay. There is still so much of unknowns that are out there. Secondly, from our neck of the woods, I mean, India, South Asia, there was absolutely no microbiome data. I feel my sample could have been one of the first samples ever to be done in India to understand what is there in the gut. And it never matched, the Indian data never matched the Caucasian data. So the Western population data versus Indian data, there was so many differences. So much so that in the initial years, we kept thinking that we were doing something wrong. Maybe our testing is not right, maybe our understanding is not right, and all of that. And then now when we've understood that it is different. So getting that data and to understand what the difference is and to try and make meaning out of it was the biggest challenge. Secondly, when you go to any of the nutrition database, you will get to the molecule level detail what happens if you probably have a burger. Okay? But there is no public database, at least when we started, there was no public database to let us know what happens when you eat idli or dosa.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that piece was also missing. So to combine all of that and to get that knowledge is what was most challenging.
Yeah, you still have 1.4 billion people to analyze to get to 100% areas. Yeah, but that makes sense. What you eat also helps or corrects the.
When you're eating something, you're either starving a particular set of bacteria or you're feeding a particular set of bacteria. So it depends on all the subnutrients that are there in that food that you're eating.
On outer perspective, there is a lot of other companies I see online promoting their stuff related to gut health, and I think it's been a year or two. It's kind of boom or kind of trend that this particular product or kind of testing which helps your health or lifestyle. So with so many other companies out there, and if I to be very honest, there's a lot of mixed reviews because people do not have complete awareness of this particular testing or the products which improves your health or lifestyle. So what do you want to say on that?
See, traditionally, India has been very big on gut health. Okay, if you look at naturopathy, if you look at Ayurveda, a lot of that focus is on improving the gut. Even if you go home, listen to your grandmother. She will always say, "Take this; it'll improve your gut, and then it'll solve a lot of your problems." So that traditionally we've had a lot of that. Now the challenge is when you try to productize a lot of this, that is where things can go. Things might not go as good as the natural product. For example, I know a lot of people are trying to now productize rice kanji. Okay, how do you productize rice kanji? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's a challenge. I mean, once you take it to a factory, to a manufacturing unit to productize it, put it into sachets, you're losing something out of it. So the one thing that you're gaining from it is probably the fact that it becomes easy to make it and drink it. Okay, so a lot more people can do it. But at the same time, something is lost in the process of mass manufacturing it. So it is that balance that needs to be found. And like I said before, I mean, you need to understand your body first before you can take the right corrective actions to it. So unless you do a blood test, you don't know, the kind of either food or medicine that you need to take. Similarly, unless you don't know what your gut is, I'm not saying you have to test all the time, but unless you understand your gut, it is very difficult for you to take corrective actions. So
It's good that you mentioned blood test because a lot of your product initially when we started, it's related to testing as well, but it's a different kind of product which comes out of your body, and it's not as clean or pretty looking like red. So what are misconception people do, because it's kind of skeptical also, right? Like for me to give my poop and get it tested, right? It's already out of the product, like out of the body, and it does not necessarily have any information is what we feel, because it's a wastage of from wastage from our body. So what do you think about it?
first of all, I'm judging you for saying that red color blood is pretty looking. So yes, I don't know if you have Dracula genetics in it, but so when yeah, you're right. I mean, the poop sample, causes a little bit of discomfort, with everybody when they hear it for the first time. But it's also a representative of what is happening in your gut. So as it's collecting all the organisms as it's coming out of the body, and you just have to find a way to collect it and analyze from it. What we did was, when the first time we designed our kit, we made it into a jewelry box, a wooden color jewelry box. We went to Chanapatna, got it designed by the toy manufacturers as a jewelry box. This was back when the test costed 36,000 rupees. So, we were telling the customer, your poop is as important as gold. That's the amount of information it has. But yes, there is a notion of a yuck factor to it, which is what I keep. It is my biggest engineering problem. And even after 11 years of working, the thing that I'm looking for is a hands-free connection method.
You just have a chaos where they drop it and then you collect it. That's quite.
And no, that's after collection. I'm saying even for collection,
Okay.
I mean, you poop and it's collected somewhere.
Understood.
So
With science evolving, right? Like I understand we had when we spoke initially, the particular machine or a product which required to test or to collect the data from the sample used to cost a lot. No, a lot. right? It used to cost a lot. That is why the end result for the consumer also used to cost a lot. It has come down significantly right now, but it's still not that cost effective to common people that they can just get in time. Since you mentioned it's not like one information per person, right? Like blood, I know my blood is this, but for the poop information, it is on that particular time of that body, how the lifestyle is and what they eat and everything. So you might consider getting the test done like every couple of years or 4 or 5 years, but it's still not that affordable. What do you say on that? Will that improve? Is that any changes going to happen in that?
Yeah, lots of changes are going to happen on that. So that is personally my number one mission, to try and bring the test cost down as much as possible. So when we launched this in 2018, it was 36,000 rupees, and with very little margin. I think it costed us 35,000. We just put 1,000 rupees extra and we sold it in the market. So it was that expensive. Then we got it down to 24, from 24 to 14, and from 14 now to between 8 to 10,000 is what you can get the test for. My goal is in the next step to get it below the 5,000 rupee mark, and in some point of time in the near future, get it down to at least a 2,500 or around that. So that is where a lot more people can afford it. Gone to a lot of cancer hospitals, especially the charity ones. I mean, Tata Memorial Hospital and few such hospitals, and we're doing studies over there, and we're seeing how much the microbiome can actually improve, help with for cancer patients. But when he sees underprivileged people not able to afford the test, it really hurts him. So it's a moral obligation on my part to bring the test price down without losing out on quality. We still have to be the number one lab worldwide in terms of quality, but also the most economical lab to provide the test. So
Is it proportional to the more amount of tests done is going to be cost effective for you, or is it per test it's costing you that much because of the product use? How is the correlation between the price going down?
there is a little bit of volume at scale pricing coming down, so that will play a little bit. But the technology itself is still very expensive,
Okay.
and a lot of the technologies are actually a lot of the reagents that we use, the machines that we use are imported. So every time the rupee is getting devalued, the price of our import is actually going up. But what we've done, where volume actually helps, is it's helping us now build an ecosystem in India, where we can look at manufacturers in India and say, this is what we want, and can you manufacture this for us? And that ecosystem is building. So right now we are working with 3 or 4 companies which are actually, previously we used to import them. Now it is fully indigenized, and the quality is so good that the reverse is happening. Now we are able to sell to foreign countries saying that this is Indian manufactured reagent, but quality is on par or better than what you get internationally.
Just to summarize the whole process of BugSpeaks, right? For a normal person to understand what this company does, because when I first listened to your actual name of the company was Leucine Rich Bio, right? It sounds like a very technical scientific name, but the process of what you do is pretty simple. If you could take me through the process of what is your product and how at the end stage it helps to the customer, and what are the byproducts which comes out of it so that it helps their lifestyle.
Sure. So I'll talk about the main product that we have in BugSpeaks, which is the gut microbiome test. So supposing you order for the test, what we do is we send a kit to your house. Now, the purpose of the kit is to collect the fecal sample. Okay. But we want to make it as easy and user friendly for you to collect the fecal sample, right? So we've given a tissue band, to collect the fecal matter on, gloves and instructions and all of that. So that is what the kit box contains. Along with that, there is a tube in which there is a liquid which preserves the fecal sample for about a month under room temperature. So this way, I can send the kit all the way to Kashmir or Meghalaya, anywhere in India, outside India, and get the sample back to our lab. So because the sample will be stable for 30 days, so transportation is not a problem. So once you collect the sample, our team will collect the um, collect the test kit back and ship it back to our lab here in Bangalore. Once it comes to our lab, what we do is we isolate all the microbial DNA. Okay,
Microbial?
DNA. Okay, like how we are made up of our genetic material is DNA. Most of the microbes in our gut also has a DNA as the genetic material. Okay, 99.99% of all the microbes that are there. There are few RNA viruses, but we don't have to talk about that right now. So we isolate the microbial DNA from that. The one difference between us and a lot of the international labs is most of the labs will concentrate on bacteria alone. Here, what we do is we look at all the microorganisms. So that is bacteria, fungus, archaea, virus, and even the smaller eukaryota, which is your worms. Uh, remember school deworming and all of that. So we also look at we look at that entire environment, and after we isolate the DNA, what we do is called as sequencing. So it is what is this DNA sequence that we are trying to check. This will tell us what type of microorganism is present, what type of bacteria or fungus is present. So there are two informations that come out of it. What is the bacteria that is present, and at what volume it is present in. So both of it is important. Given your age and how healthy you seem to be, you would have anywhere between 1,500 to about 2,000 different kinds of microorganisms.
Species kind.
Species, yeah, different species, 2,000 different species. Whereas somebody slightly older or somebody suffering from a disease, the number of species would have drastically come down to maybe around 1,000 or even lesser than 1,800, 700 kind of a thing. So the rule of thumb is the lesser the number of species, the more problematic it is for you.
Okay.
Okay. So the more diverse it is, the better it is for you. So our job is to find out what are the microbes that are present, at what quantity that they are present. Okay. And give you that in a report. Secondly, no point in giving you just this, right? I mean, it is saying whether you're good or bad, but we also have to give you corrective measures, how to rebalance the gut, how to make the diversity increase. So for that, we give you supplements that you could take, okay, which is a short-term boost, but the long-term sustainability is the kind of food you're supposed to eat or not supposed to eat. So this is what the entire package is.
So this comes to like two-part question for me. One is you mentioned that the universe or the bacteria, more diverse it is, it's better for our health because it helps in the food digestion, I'm assuming, right? So what we eat and how it digests, that's how our body reacts and further goes on. That's where you mentioned that the supplement or the what kind of food needs to be eaten will be given in the report.
Correct.
But the second question for me to understand was, so just with the diverse virus, we're not talking about virus, we're talking about microbes.
All the microbes, bacteria, fungus, virus, everything put together.
Oh, so even the virus helps us digesting these food you mentioned in there?
Okay, so when you think about virus, don't think about viruses which attack the human body alone. Okay, there are only about 230 viruses which can infect humans.
Okay.
Okay, but the viral world is pretty massive. There are lots and lots of species of viruses. Most of them feed on bacteria. So to keep your bacteria in check, you need a specific kind of viruses called as phages. So they are the ones controlling certain bacterial population. I'll give you an example. When we did a study on people with Alzheimer's, we found a difference in the bacteria eating viruses between Alzheimer's patient versus a healthy control.
Okay.
Okay, so the viruses itself are different between these two kind of population in the gut for people with Alzheimer's. So
Seems to be a different ecosystem going on inside my gut.
correct, yes. Which is why I'm saying, I mean, we still don't understand a lot of things. I mean, there's still so much that needs to be done. But coming back to your question, it is that diversity that is important. I mean, there is in my book there is no good bacteria, bad bacteria. It is at what percentage of population that they are present in. Uh, um, a bad bacteria, a pathogen like E. coli, which can cause so much of harm, if it is completely absent, also is problematic. You need to have a trace amounts of it. Similarly, the probiotics that you take as supplements and all of that, that if it is present in too large quantities is also bad for you. So everything has to be there
Right amount.
at the right amount, and there needs to be diversity over that.
Is that the reason when other foreign country people when come to Indian food, when they try to eat, because they don't have that particular micro pathogen, whatever you call it. So if they don't have that particular ecosystem in their body, is that way they get problems?
Yes, and I mean it doesn't matter if people are coming to India or if Indians are going out. It depends. I mean, it's very difficult to eat a local cuisine if you don't have the process to if you don't have the bacteria to actually break it down for you, and that's where you start getting in you start getting stomach related problems. Um, since you lived in Canada for some time, what we've also noticed is when Indians live in Canada for some time and then or in slightly colder climates and come back to India, the diversity is kind of lost. 20-30% of the diversity is kind of lost. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's the climate or the food or whatever it is, but we are seeing these kind of patterns.
Maybe the bacteria died because of the cold. So, so that further adds to the issues which people get nowadays. I mean, I'm hearing it nowadays. Maybe it might be from a long time. All these celebrities also getting a lot of IBS, right? That's where I'm hearing it's on whatever the social networking sites we are listening to. IBS is one of the leading problems so many people have. Does your test help in that, and do you have a product to solve it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we also did a clinical trial in which we have shown that it helps in IBS. The way again with irritable bowel syndrome, it is the lack of certain organisms which are actually causing it, and the way to do it is to diversify the microorganisms that are there. There are supplements which will after the test that we will recommend that can boost it, but this is not a permanent solution. You you have to follow it up with the right kind of diet.
Diet. It's in the food. Okay.
It's the food that will make the gut better.
So, is it like raw food or is it like a prepared food you're talking about?
That doesn't matter. I mean, it differs from individual to individual. But if I'm talking about rule of thumb, the different variety of food you're eating, the better it is for you.
So that brings me to one of the podcasts we discussed with Rohini, and you've had the discussion over a broccoli. So that I remember that if one person ate just broccoli and it was not diverse enough in their food, and that created problems as well.
Yes.
You want to add more onto that?
So broccoli, green vegetable, people thought it was healthy. So there was this one person who kept eating a lot of broccoli and didn't eat anything else. That was the problem. And that's where the diversity started coming down. Similarly, yesterday I was listening to a case where this person was eating a lot of eggs per day to build muscles, and he was looking at protein-rich diet. And when he was eating a lot of the eggs, he was missing out on a lot of the other food that normally is supposed to eat, and that was a cause for his gut to be problematic. In general, we've lost diversity in our food. For example, if I ask you, do you eat vegetables? You would say yes. When I ask you to count the number of vegetables you eat, different kinds of vegetables you eat, it'll be in single digits.
Yeah.
It'll be like 7, 8. The same old.
Potato, tomato, onions.
Yeah, and sometimes the challenge that I throw out is eat about 30 different vegetables in a month. Okay, most of us can't even name 30 different vegetables, let alone eating it. So that is the kind of diversity that is lost. Even for meat, for example, all of us keep binging on chicken, and there are so many different varieties of meat that is available. Even in the seafood variety, there's so many different varieties that's available. All of that has been constricted to just one or two different type of meat. So this is where the problem is. I can go on and on about, similarly with grains. We're either eating rice or chapati, or a little bit of rice and a little bit of chapati. But the thing is, there's so many varieties of grains that can be eaten that we're not eating anymore. We've not become before it was seasonal. Now you get everything 365 days a year. So you eat the food that you like, and the more you eat the food that you like, the more a certain kind of microorganisms grow. The more certain kind of microorganisms grow, the more they signal to the brain saying that feed me more of this. And you keep wanting, craving for a particular type of food.
Craving for particular kind of food. So is my gut telling what to eat, or is it giving me wrong signals that I want to eat more junk food or more ice cream?
So it is giving you a signal. Okay, so there are microbes in the gut and they want to survive. They want to survive. They want to grow. Just like you and me, they want to survive. Okay, so they want food, and they have realized if they secrete a certain kind of chemical, okay, then that food comes after some time. Okay. This is as simple as I can make it. So, and that is what we are calling as a little bit of craving. So there is a signal going from the bacteria in the gut to the brain saying that feed me this kind of food, and you go back and eat that kind of food. So they eat that food, they become energetic, they multiply, they grow, they kill the other kinds of bacteria that are on that, because that other bacteria is not getting the food that they like.
Okay.
And slowly the diversity will keep coming down.
Think of me as the guy who does not know anything. Okay, I crave a lot of pani puri and golgappa per se. Okay, but that has only certain ingredients, right? The semolina or whatever the balls are made of, and potato, and some maybe chana and others peas maybe. So there are like only 3-4 types. But if I'm craving every day for a month, what does that mean? Is that I'm developing only certain kind of microbes and it's getting stronger and it's still craving for more, and I've already killed the other bacterias, or my body needs that particular ingredient?
I don't think a body needs that kind of ingredient. It is most likely these microorganisms, signaling and wanting more such food. And do a simple experiment. Okay, grit your teeth, and for the next 20-30 days, eat a lot of vegetables.
Okay.
Okay, eat a lot of salads, eat a lot of some other very different kind of food. Yeah, eat that, and see how your craving is for pani puri 1 or 2 months down the line, and you would see that the craving will go down.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I come from the scientific world. I'm not saying that this is 100% true for everybody and for every food item, but it is. In most cases, it is like this.
Basically, you're willingly and consciously you're kind of controlling that bacteria that I don't need to eat this food, and you kind of weaken them or kind of killing them, that particular which.
That the population will come down a little bit.
So we discussed about kind of bacteria which is inside your stomach or gut, right? No matter it's stomach, intestine, or this thing where I'm assuming they're all over the place. When it comes out, are certain kind of bacteria dead because it's processing, right?
Yeah, it's mostly the dead cells that are coming out.
So you're kind of monitoring the dead particular thing only, not just the active ones. And the supplements you provide. So those I've seen only like the capsule or the powder sachets, this thing. So those are also dead.
There's some. It's called lyophilized.
Okay.
Which means that at a certain end, so at room temperature and inside the capsule, it is not alive. But once it goes inside your gut, it will become alive.
Okay.
So that is the technology behind it.
Cool.
Which is why supplementation does not guarantee you the bacteria going there and colonizing. When I say colonizing, going there and putting a tent and establishing its territory over there.
Yeah.
Which is where when you eat natural fermented food, or when you eat any kind of food, the live microorganisms are going inside your system, and for them, their chances of surviving and establishing in the gut are much higher.
We discuss on the more about gut health because that is primarily your product which you started, but you are developing other products as well because the microbes are present all over your body and all the organs as well. So we have developed other products as well, right?
So the one that we've already launched is the face skin microbiome. It's the microbes over here which actually they don't dictate, but they also influence hydration, oil content, acne, redness, all of those kind of things. So again, it's a swab test which you do, and you can discover the microbiome of your face, and then based on that, choose the right products for your skin.
The gut one, it's pretty simple because it's coming out of your body, and I know that the ecosystem which is there is the one which is necessary. But on the face, it's outside, right? There's a lot of other stuff just going around, and how do you test that particular thing? Do you wash your face and then
You take a swab, like your earbud, and you're actually rolling your cheeks with it, and whatever cells that get captured in that, you're taking that and putting it.
yeah, please.
The difference between the gut and the skin is that in the gut there are it is the largest place where microorganisms are present in or on our body. I mean, 90% of the microbiome is present in the gut. The rest of the organs put together make up only 10% or even lesser than 10%. The skin, like you rightly mentioned, is exposed to the environment.
Yeah.
Okay, so not too many kinds of microorganisms can survive over there, but there are few which survive, and that is what you can look at.
There are others in development, I'm assuming, the other test, which is vaginal and other stuff.
Yeah, we're getting the vaginal microbiome. Again, that the micro environment of microorganisms in the vagina helps in a lot of reproductive health and just regular women's health. We're also looking at the oral microbiome. We've also started looking at the scalp, okay, which has a lot of especially a lot of fungus in the scalp. We're looking at that. There is a little bit of there is one lab which is asking us to look at the microbiome of the fluid which is present in the eye. So during a special kind of operation, I think they take out the fluid. I don't know the exact details as to how they take it out, but we're looking at the microorganisms over them.
When you look into these kind of tests, because for gut health, I'm assuming there's byproduct of the test or the end result would help in IBS, and you said some kind of cancers as well, right? So what about these one? The facial one is for acne and stuff, but the
In general, making the skin better. So
skin better. Okay.
yeah. And the other ones are slightly so with the vaginal health and the oral microbiome, it'll become slightly more clinical, where doctors are looking at what are the antibiotics or antifungals that they'll have to prescribe over there, and make those environments better. What we have discovered is that whatever rules that apply in the gut, the same rules need not apply in the other organs. Example, diversity. Diversity is good in the gut, but it need not be the case in the other parts of the
Other
organism.
parts, okay. That brings to the question where, like, because BugSpeaks reports have wellness insights, right? Like, it kind of a test result for the doctors to prescribe or the dietitian to prescribe. But how do you see the line between wellness and medical diagnostics evolving? Off camera, we even discussed on going clinical, right? Because when we talk about antibacterial or
Antibiotics.
antibiotics, sorry. So that is kind of more of a medicinal this thing than just the food, which is diet health.
Correct.
So where do you see that?
This is still an evolving field and will become a diagnostic at some point of time. Worldwide, not a single company has got a diagnostic mark for a microbiome test. Okay.
You mean the approved from the
Approved by either FDA or any of the authorities worldwide. There is not a single test that has been approved as a diagnostic as yet, because there are so many unknowns, right? We're still trying to figure out what is the right method to do, what is the standard method? Everybody says their method is right, including us, which is why we are part of an organization called GA4GH, which is an international consortium which is looking into different testing parameters and saying this is the standard that needs to be followed. Okay, so we're contributing to that, getting information from that kind of a thing. So once these standards are established, which will take another I mean, it'll take about maybe 15 to 24 months, you know, and a few clinical studies, trials from our end, we can then go approach the authorities to get a diagnostic mark for this. So that is getting a diagnostic mark and saying that this is a diagnostic test. But doctors are even now using the test to understand the body better. And then by combining that with other test results, they are able to prescribe the medication that they want.
So at the end of the day, they just need information on your body, right?
Correct.
But as I understand, this is still an early stage process because as it develops, it will go into the medical field so that the doctors can understand better of the particular body.
Correct. So it'll develop in a way that it'll become like your routine blood test or a radiology test or any of that, where the doctors will understand this better, and based on that they can go for their suggest their therapy.
What kind of partnerships with clinics, hospitals, or wellness providers have been more impactful for you for this particular growth?
So we started off with wellness providers. I mean, we actually started off with a wellness company which was training athletes at the international level. Okay, well, athletes who were competing for, representing India at the international level. They're the ones who were okay to spend 36,000 rupees for a test, because for them improving their body by even 0.5% or 1% will make a huge difference in their performance. So that's where we started. The wellness is where we started. Now we're moving more and more clinical, where we're seeing a lot more of the different kinds of doctors using this test for different purposes. Some of them are looking at the test to see what kind of probiotics to prescribe. Some of them are looking at the test to see what kind of pathogens are present and whether they need to prescribe a very targeted antibiotic or an antifungal kind of a thing. Other people are looking at inflammation markers that we are reporting on, and seeing whether using this as a companion diagnostic for a lot of the other diagnostics that they do. And eventually everybody is trying to determine the therapy protocol that they need to have for the patient.
We had so many doctors just with the blood sample and other things, which the general test we used to get done. But the more doctors and the wellness are going into this particular microbes and testing and this, so that is there information which was not provided before, or is it new something happening right now, or it's always been like this but we just hadn't gone through particular testing like this?
There was no technology back then to provide this kind of results, right? And now this technology is available, and more people are beginning to understand what is being provided. So there are two factors that will enable more and more doctors to start prescribing this. One is, of course, education. I mean, both even at the doctor front, to understand what the microbiome is from a clinical perspective. I mean, they would definitely have an understanding of what the microbiome is, but from their clinical specialty, how is it impacting their knowledge in that space? That is that education that is happening right now. And secondly, the test has to be more accessible and affordable. So that is especially in India. So where where insurance will not cover
Okay.
exploratory tests. So for that, it has to become much more affordable, and which we'll get that. So
Since mental health was also not considered part of insurance before, now it's been identified, and most of the insurance, I'm not sure about India, but other part of the world, they are considering as a problem, and they provide insurance for the mental health as well. Do you see that happening in this, or how far are we from there?
frankly, I don't have an answer for this. I don't have enough knowledge about the insurance industry to give you an answer whether they would look at a microbiome test and incorporate that into the insurance policy or not. But it is something that we are also educating insurance providers as to the usefulness of this test,
The importance of
the importance of the test. But I mean, I'm not the right person to answer on the legislative aspect of this.
this micro testing, which we discussed, was to the gut health and the skin and the vaginal, and also you're looking into the scalp. But
Right.
are there any more which is required by the doctors or the general audience, like the public, which is like I need this particular test done? You have anything in the future pipeline?
Not necessarily to the consumer or to the patient as yet, but for researchers, getting all kinds of samples. We're getting the lung fluid, the nasal swabs. Like when you did it for COVID, the nasal swab, you were looking at one particular RNA virus. Okay, but here you can look at all the microorganisms and try to make some correlation. There's a lot of people try to do the ear wax. I mean, when I say people, I mean researchers who are trying to understand what is happening over there. We're at least about half a decade away from any of this meaningfully coming to the consumer.
Good point you discussed was the COVID. That brings me up a question because your company was established or started way before the COVID thing happened, right? It's been more than 10 to 15 years for your company.
11 years now.
11 years. And the COVID happened like 3-4 years ago, let's say. So your testing did it merge with the COVID, or did that help in a certain way, or how did it work for you?
Remember when I said we test for microorganisms and 99.99% are DNA based microbes as their genetic material. COVID is RNA based. So it's a slightly different testing protocol that we don't look at. So COVID virus, HIV, all these are RNA based viruses that we don't look at. One thing that we did for COVID is it was one of the most cited research papers where we put together an explanation onto the gut lung axis. So if your gut microbiome is a little less diverse, the chances of a lung infection, especially COVID kind of infections, were higher.
So they're less diverse.
Where if your gut was less diverse, the chances that the lung will get infected with an infection through a virus was much higher.
Let me put this in basic terms which I understand. So there's vast diverse of the microbes which we have that helps, or the virus which we have helps the keeping the viruses bay, and then
Correct. So there are lots of different kinds of microorganisms in the gut. Okay, I'm not saying virus alone. I'm just saying all kinds of microbes that are there in the gut, and they are not going to say this is gut and that is lung. I'm not going to go there. They don't need passport visas and all of that. If they find a way, they will go there. But more importantly, they are secreting molecules which are going in the bloodstream. Okay, which might make the human body fight the incoming viruses better. Okay, so I don't know the clear mechanism for this, but there's definitely correlation, and I think following our paper, there were few research labs, universities that came out with good papers establishing this fact.
you are expanding, right? I've heard a lot of taglines from BugSpeaks say the Asia's number one or Asia's first testing. So are you planning to expand globally or apart from Asia? I'm thinking, or I just heard that you might be expanding to Europe as well.
Yes, we're already present in a lot of countries in Asia. Um, there are two the kind of things that are happening. Either the samples are coming back to India, or we're establishing testing centers in those countries. So, and we're making inroads in Europe as well. The tackling and understanding and growing in India itself was a challenge, and learning from this, it's becoming easier to go into other geographies. And the ambition that we have is to take this microbiome science and make it an impactful product and company globally. I mean, why can't the global leader in microbiome be an Indian company?
We as Indians, we do not go out and get tests done regularly, or we are not into health. How do you not health as a right word, but we don't go to hospitals or getting tests done. We don't have that mindset. But in Europe, and I'm assuming other countries, they do the test regularly. Do you see become market there?
There, definitely, I definitely see a lot of market there. But will that be a bigger market than the Indian market for us? I don't know. I would equally like to focus on India and to expand it in India. Uh, I mean, from day one, we would like to make this as accessible to as many people in India as possible. So that has been our goal. But the international market is big, and we are making inroads there.
Because the government is different and the way regulations are quite different for the health and the wellness related this thing, right? So what were the hurdles compared to India and this thing? If you could share a story or something where what was the problems you faced in India and what are you facing there?
In India, the problem was there was no set guidelines, right? I mean, we're doing something called as a microbiome. What is microbiome? I mean, there was no set guidelines as to what needs to be done. I think our lab was the first lab to get an NABL certificate for the gut microbiome, which means when the authorities came for auditing for NABL, we had to do a lot of explanation as to what we are doing.
Even the authorities did not know completely.
Completely, and they had to understand what we were doing, and instead of it being a short period, it was actually a slightly longish period, and through which we had got this certificate. So there in India, it was more a gray zone, and for us to establish a good lab took a little bit of time, and to get the authorities to come and sign off on everything that we've done. So it was, I mean, I'm not here sitting here blaming anyone. I'm just saying that there's a lot of education that was needed.
Awareness wasn't.
Awareness that was needed. In foreign countries now, a lot of the countries are making it very restrictive to take out biological samples out of that country. Okay, there are certain countries which will allow us to ship the samples back to India where we can process everything and send the report back. But a lot of countries are saying you can't ship biological samples out. And for that, we are partnering with labs, or we're setting up our own labs in certain countries where we're getting the test done.
It's very interesting. So the information of this particular data which you're collecting, right? Is it very secretive or is it like very personal that it cannot be shared, or how is it?
No, well, if you look at it globally, there's a blanket rule that a lot of countries are imposing, where they're saying everything needs to be done locally. Okay. Yes, there's a little bit of data sensitivity that is also there, but it's also promoting local economy for the better, like a lack of a better word, right? So a bit of both that is happening over here. So with respect to with respect to biological samples, there has been over the years there have been increasing amount of restrictions of countries able to send biological samples out of that country.
So it's not just the protecting of data; it's also to improve local.
Yes, so both of it is going hand in hand.
So the protecting of data, how is BugSpeak working on that? Because information on individual person, and you're taking DNAs or the microbial desk missing information. How are you maintaining the protection or the safety of this information?
So from day one, we've been we've been following HIPAA guidelines. Privacy and protection has been our you know been very, very on top for us and wanting to do it. So we have regular trainings. I mean, simple things. I keep telling everybody, don't take a selfie in front of your system, because you never know what is there at in your system, right? So from simple things like that to data protection for our servers, all of that, we've implemented, and we're ensuring that there is global privacy standards are maintained.
So this particular data, it's protected. I trust Kumar and BugSpeaks on this, but there's a lot of competition about other companies, right? One of the powerful tools you have, or the resource you have, is the information or the data which you have at under your belt. Other companies started with testing, like the microbe testing. I'm not sure how many companies there are. I'm assuming very few because there's a lot of companies which is creating supplements and the products related to this, but the testing is very few companies would stand.
Yeah.
So how do you think your power increases further in the future? Because if there's a lot more companies coming in, do you think they would have a contract with you, or how does it work? Because you're still sharing the data in that particular space.
So globally, if you look at it, there are many companies doing microbiome testing, but the technology behind the testing, making meaning out of the data, there are only a handful of companies which can do it, and we're one of them. So globally itself, this is a scenario that trying to understand the microbes and what they're doing is very, very difficult to do. It is not an easy and simple task. Second, when we partner with say hospitals to test for their patients, it's always de-identified. We don't know. For us, it's only a number that is coming to us, ID number that's coming to us. We don't know who that person is. We might get some demographic details as to age and the kind of food or the kind of disease that they may have, but we don't know what the person's name is. In some aspects where the personal information is shared, once we've delivered the result and the stipulated amount of days where we need to store all the records are done, we've completely de-identified everything and segregated the data so that anybody who has access to will never get to know the personal information.
So my information is there as a data for whatever research purposes, but the other person or when the end person who is trying to decode that or to use in different kind of scenarios will not have my information on it. It's just the information of that particular of a body, maybe just like that.
Yes, and all the information is used only for internal R&D. We don't share that data with anybody externally. And anybody who's not comfortable with their data being present in our system, we delete it. If there's a request saying that I don't want you having the data, we delete it immediately.
I do have that choice as well.
It's our data. I mean, it's beneficial for us to do internal research because we understand more and more from the data, and we'll keep doing it. But if you don't want your data to be part of that, we will delete it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. As Indian and the same below belt on the other part of the world was the Southern American this thing. So we have two distinctive gut compared to other countries there, and we are able to process more different kind of food and still be okay with it than other people of the other country. So do you think this particular data is more important, or would this be beneficial in future developments?
Okay, let me put it this way. Every country's data is important. Every kind of ethnicity and food habit kind of people data is important. That variety of data is what is going to make you narrow down on what is causing what. It's going to be important. So yes, globally the global West, that data was publicly available, and that was the only data that was available. And the other countries where we're generating data was, it's new, and hence it's a gold mine right now. But it's not a gold mine in association, in isolation. It has to be taken in context with other countries. Only then you'll understand the full biology behind it.
If I talk about cancer, I'm taking it very lightly, but it's some huge research would go on to that. Cancer is one of those problems which globally is faced. Do you think that would be able to predict in future that if I'm testing the microbe in gut, if that person will be able to is prone to a particular kind of cancer, do you think that risk prediction would be done in this kind of process?
Oh yeah, I mean, we already have signatures. When I say we, the microbiome community, many companies have signatures on different kinds of cancers. I mean, what are the microbial signatures for different kinds of cancers? There is the progression of cancers could be dictated by the microbes that are present also. So there are targeted therapies that are now being developed to stop the progression of cancers. In chemotherapy, we're doing a clinical trial right now where the side effects of chemotherapy are kind of minimized if you can, correct the microbes that are there in the gut. So there are many applications of cancer in which the microbiome will will have a big impact on.
So help me understand this. So when you mentioned that they're going chemotherapy, right? So if they're going through that process, and usually the body weakens because you're kind of killing most of the cancer cells. So you kind of give report to help what food or what kind of medicines can be taken so that it does faster, the process is faster or the heals better.
So I don't have the full data as yet. The trial is still going on, but early results show very promising. So what I think is happening, we still have to wait for a few more months to actually confirm this. But what I think is happening is with chemotherapy, a lot of the microorganisms are also killed. Correct. Okay. I mean, in chemotherapy itself, cancer cells and a lot of the healthy normal cells are also killed, but a lot of the microbe cells are also killed. And I have a sense that the diversity is coming down. Okay. And early data also is suggesting something in those similar lines. Which is why the chances of you getting infected, chances of you falling ill from something else is also going up as you get chemotherapy. So if we can diversify the gut microbiome again, then the side effects could be minimized.
It's a sensitive topic. I understand that. That's why you're not saying that it's my perspective and you're not saying conclusively on what report is. But will we get there, or how far are we to get the conclusive report on this helpful nature for this when they're going through chemotherapy or what kind of cancer patients?
So the trial is going on. I think we should get all patient data within the next 3 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And publication should come out within a year from now. I mean, hopefully faster, but I think the timeline is about a year from now.
So from when the publication is out, let's say, how far are you to discuss with doctor for this reports? Like from the publication, is it like you
Immediately
immediately?
you can do the reason you'll have to go to through a publication, especially a good peer reviewed publication, is it's peer reviewed, right? I mean, it's going through experts. They're saying whether the study was conducted properly, all of that. And then once that is validated and the publication comes down, there we can go and show to the doctors, this is what we did, and this is the outcome of that. In general, experts in that area. So
They can be doctors too.
they're definitely researchers and can be doctors too.
Okay. So there's a lot of assorted people in that jury or something.
But I'm guessing.
We had a lot of data in our hand, right? Like we started, but it's still a long way to go. We have 1.4 billion just in India. There's a lot of other countries you are establishing in Asia and some part of Europe as well. Because there's so much of data, do you think AI and machine learning would be a good way to process this, or would that help in any way for you?
But definitely, I mean, today since you're sitting in front of the camera, Harshit, instead of working on machine learning, is behind the camera. But machine learning is something which is very much necessary. I mean, this is what we were doing even before machine learning became a cool word. We were getting microbial data, molecular pathway data, food data, all of that together, and this is a lot of statistics and data crunching. Machine learning algorithms behind all of this to understand the body better.
Have you already implemented any of
Yes, yeah. For a long time, we've implemented it. Like I said, I mean, you're getting so your 1,500 organisms and my 1,500 organisms could be very different, but the eventuality could be the same. Okay, why is that? Or the eventuality could be different. The health outcome could be different. Why is that happening? Is there a correlation between these two kind of data sets? And then when you put it over like 1 lakh data and you start looking at patterns within that, you begin to understand get some insights on the human body.
That concludes the first part of this podcast. We have a lot more questions to follow, and we'll conclude this in the next episode as well. So stay tuned. Thank you.